Hey everyone, it's Eric. Welcome back. Now we're going to talk about a subject that people take for granted sometimes, or they don't talk enough about, or such. At least I think. So anyway, we're going to talk about grips today, and we're going to talk about grip size, and we'll touch on grip texture and things like that. So anyway, grip size. Quite easy to be able to determine what's the proper size for you. You might only need something such as a ruler or a tape measure or something that you can measure with, obviously. So with that, going back to the same reference that I had before, if you notice when I put my hand up to the camera and I bend my wrist, there's a dominant wrist crease that sort of forms at the top of my wrist here, right at the bottom part of my hand. So if I take out my ruler and I use that as a reference point and I measure from there to the longest finger on my hand, and then I measure down, you'll notice that it's about right on 7 inches. So at 7 inches, again, great using reference charts. There's lots of ways to be able to determine grip size off the internet and such, but the one that I choose and have used for a very long time, again going back to Tom Wishon's Practical Club Fitting, is a chart that he actually came up with a long time ago. As you see, it's just a big image of a hand, quite much larger than mine. But again, that would be the representation of the dominant wrist crease with my hand over the top, measuring on the first scale, which is on the outside. You'll see that measures right out to 7 inches there. And then when you refer back over to the scale, you'll see that that scale displays that my hand would actually be a men's standard. Okay, so then itself categorizes the basic grip, whether you need a standard, a mid-size, or an oversize. Now the second part of it is what I feel to be probably the more important of the two. All right, the more important of the two would be then looking again at your hand directly, but again a point of measure. The point of measure at this point would be where your middle finger, the longest finger on your hand, connects with your the rest of your palm. And what we're going to do again is go to the tip of my finger, and we're going to measure right to the bottom of my longest finger, if you see that there. All right, so that measures about 3 inches. And with the 3 inches, we go back to our chart, our reference, again measuring from here to the top of my finger, back this way. On the B section, you'll notice that with a measurement of 3 inches, it is actually 0 additional layers of tape. So let's touch on that subject for a moment. So categorically, you'll have lots of grips that are on the market, most of which will be categorized into a men's standard, a mid-size, or an oversize. Oversize can then be referred to as jumbo, 1/8 oversize. There's companies out there that have number representations like Win that has a W7 as a representation of 1/8 over or jumbo, all of which is exactly the same thing, but can be a little confusing sometimes. So anyway, going back to that, so my hand measures 7 inches and my longest finger measures 3. So according to this, I fit perfectly into what we would consider a men's standard grip. Now the second measure, and why I had mentioned that it was more important, is a lot of times if you look at the proportion of my hand, you notice that my palm is very long in comparison to the length of my fingers. This type of a hand setup for me makes a big difference for one simple fact. The length of your fingers, if you have longer than average fingers, sort of an average palm and longer fingers, a lot of times you may have to do some finite extra wrapping of that grip. Why? It's just been experience, and I've noticed that it feels more comfortable to an average player who has that type of a hand setup. But again, categorically, that doesn't mean after all of this that we've done, if I measure into a men's standard, but I prefer the feel of something larger, should I use it, should I not use it? To be honest with you, it has nothing to do with anything more than the fact that if it feels comfortable to you and it doesn't adversely affect how you play and how the golf club feels to you, then you can feel free to play it. There's really no rights and wrongs. All the things that we've talked about now, this being the 5th video of length, loft, lie, shaft flex, grip size being this last part, understand that these are guidelines. All of these guidelines can be challenged because it is you personally who is going to be playing the equipment, not me and not any of the other major manufacturers or how they feel about anything. So that's the best part about the whole thing. With wraps and things like that, like I was saying at the end of the video there, People like Bubba Watson uses as many as 12 layers of tape underneath his lower hand because that's what he prefers as far as a feel to be able to get the golf club to do what he wants. Myself, I prefer thinner grips than men's standard a lot of times. It doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it wrong, it just makes it what it is. So anyway, understand this. Take some time. Grips are some of the least expensive parts of the golf club. Try them in mid-size, try them in standard, and see if anything happens. Because if it was always about trying to, the cliches that are out there about a bigger grip, will affect you from releasing the golf club and it'll always make you go to the right. A smaller grip will make you always go to the left. If it was always true that that was the fact, that that would happen, then people would be better than they are. But they're not. So experiment. Try the big grips, try the small grips, try lightweight grips. That's another whole story. But try lightweight grips. Try anything under the sun. Why? Because it's really not that big a deal. And if it makes golf more comfortable for you, being able to hold on to the golf club, then great, man. I really couldn't wish you any more. Okay? I hope that puts some light on the subject of grips. And again, reach out to us on Facebook. Reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, all the social media outlets, YouTube, and we're going to continue on with some further explanations. That'll be the next bunch. We'll go back over some subjects and start to get into it more in depth, okay? So I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope you're enjoying this so far. It's been a lot of fun for me, and we're going to keep on going. Okay, have a great day.